Calling to order 11:33. Begin with the invocation and pledge of allegiance, and then we'll do the verse.
Ms. Janice Hernandez will lead us in the invocation, followed by the pledge of allegiance.
Please join me in a moment of reflection. Let us reflect on how to best serve the students and staff of Southwest Dynasty. Allow us to work together well, to listen and respect each other's talents and skills, and to be watchful and mindful of the responsibilities we hold as a governing body. May we rejoice in the privilege of watching our students grow into enlightened citizens of the community, and may we maintain focus on the dreams and aspirations of those we serve. In your name we pray. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, Ms. Hernandez. Yes, so good morning, board members. Welcome to this April 6th brown bag board work session. We do have a few action items that are time sensitive that we'd like to bring to the board today, followed by 3 items of information. And so I'll turn it back over to you, Mr. President, and we'll present as we go through the order. I've asked you if we could reorganize the items of information and do item B, then A, then C, if that's okay with you.
So we've gone, this time, are we ready? We're done?
Oh, well, yes, sir.
Okay, this time we'll take a 5-minute break, get our plates and come back in here.
Yes, sir.
Let's read back to order 11:44. We have anybody send us public comments?
We did not, sir.
Okay. Before going to action items, Mr. Wilson.
Yes, I'd just like to advise our trustees of a situation that evolved here today. As all of you probably know, today our district was participating in the STAR 4th, 7th grade lighting English 1 in the course. And all the assessments are online, state of Texas, and I'll ask Lula to fill in the gaps I can read out. I'm sure she has the information more so than I. But what happened in the state of Texas is the testing system that we use to do online testing, ES, had crashed this morning, taking students throughout the state out of their testing environment and not being able to log back on. And there are a number of opportunities for the entity to try to correct, get students on, and there was a lot of waiting patterns, and they came to a point about half an hour to 45 minutes ago where it just seemed impossible. And I know there's some local ISDs who came to that same conclusion, I'm sure, throughout the state, that getting students on, even if they were to fix it after 12 o'clock today, would not provide enough time, and such a disruption that would be not a benefit to students to continue in the testing environment. So here at Southwest ISD, what we have elected to do, and we are, matter of fact, Janice is working on communication sent out for our parents based on ETS's inability to have continuous testing opportunity available for our students, that we're going to cancel today's testing opportunity. And we are going to move it exactly 1 week from today for our 4th, 7th English 1, with the exception of Cast M. They're doing their English 1 at the end of April. This month, we have like a 3-day window to get our testing in. And so I wanted the board to know, because rightfully so, some parents are going to be upset about this. And we are definitely trying to get that communication out as we have this meeting right now to let our parents know exactly what happened and let our corrective action plans move forward. It's not just Southwest, it's not just San Antonio, but it's the whole state of Texas that's included.
Dr. Versa, so what you're doing is just rescheduling what was happening to the tomorrow's stateside schedule as far as all the testing.
Correct. I don't know if there are.
So
Yes,
I know
tomorrow
it's testing on Thursday.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, today's will just be delayed 1 week from today. And then tomorrow, my understanding is the next time they're gonna test the macro system again is early in the morning. And if everything comes out all right, students will, but there is a potential that tomorrow may be another disruptive day, but we're being told they can correct it. Within, today and have it ready for tomorrow.
Because we'll probably get phone calls from people not involved with it, here this week. It's gonna happen with ours.
And that's a great point. We'll include that in our communication going out to parents about tomorrow's right now. We stand ready for testing to resume tomorrow. That is going to be tomorrow. Go ahead and keep that.
Anybody have any questions? Thank you. Okay, then we'll go into item 4, consider approval of chiller replacement, Southwest Legacy High School.
Yes, so we have Mr. Thomas Kruger. This is part of the damage brought on by the Texas freeze and part of our corrective facility action plan moving forward. So Thomas will-
Yes, sir. So Southwest Legacy High School has 2 scroll chillers that supply all the cool and heat to cafeteria, auditorium, and other large scale spaces, not necessarily the classrooms. But due to the freeze event that we had this past February, the rolling brownouts and this extreme cold temperature, what had happened was when the power went out for an extended period of time, the water in the cooling system froze and cracked all the copper pipes inside the system, which let out all the freon. So it basically flattened both units completely. They're 275-ton units. So the district, in working with our chiller and boiler contractor and the insurance adjusters, we got written quotes from Airstream Air Conditioning, who has been the team that has done all of our chiller replacement at Southwest High School, Scobie, Sky Harbor. They're the vendor that we currently have on our maintenance contract. The quote for repair was $358,700, and the cost to replace the 2 chillers completely with brand new units with 5-year warranty, parts and labor came out to $470,215. From the district side and staff, the decision was made because of the timeframes that we were talking as far as getting things in line and not being stuck at the back of the line. The district made the recommendation that we went ahead and replaced them completely, because at some point, the replacement portion of it, basically you had to take all of the fans, all of the coils off, bring a crane in, bring out the barrel that was the part that was damaged, then put it back in anew, then replace all the coils and fans. And when we fired it back up, we don't even know if that would have been the only thing that was wrong with it. So from the district side, our recommendation is that we approve Airstream to replace the 2 air-cooled chillers at Southwest Legacy High School for $470,215. And we are continuing to, I'm not going to say fight, but discuss with the insurance company, because I'm trying to prove to them that it was not worth, so we can get the full replacement value. Right now, they've only approved the repair value, but we're still in talks and making sure that we can try and get that full $470,000. We do have, we were able to, through the same company that we were buying through Daikin, where the 2 new chillers are coming from, they had a 400-ton chiller that was trailer mounted that we've brought in and hooked up to we had an existing spot for future add-on. So we had the connections. So we hooked it up to the connections. And so we are able to, we're just short just a little bit, because it was 2 275 units and we got 1 400. So it's pretty much keeping up right now. We might have a little bit of it might not work quite as good when we get close to the end of May, early June and summer school, but the new chillers are supposed to ship on June 7th and then arrive that week. And then it takes about a week per chiller to get them hooked up and welded in. So we're thinking mid-June to 3rd week in June for replacement of the new ones. There will be a short time frame where we will be down to 1 before we get them back on, and we have to pull the temporary chiller out. So there'll be a week or so where we don't have any cooling in there. And that'll have, no, the classrooms are fine. It's just not in the cafeteria, auditorium, all the big spaces. Yes, but all the classrooms will still be functioning properly.
And so the board knows, because we needed to move, because it takes about 3 months to get them. So we're trying to beat the timeline of getting in line. That's if you're getting there first and getting replaced in the summertime before school starts next year. And so I gave Thomas the authority to move. This is a fund balance item because we have to fund, because we're working, negotiating with our insurance, they're gonna pay us back. So I'll be in the next board amendment, I'll be bringing for the purchase of it so that we can move forward and get a requisition and get it to them. And then when the district, the insurance pays us back, then we'll get the funds back. It's currently in the facilities maintenance budget, they don't have the funds. They actually spent a little bit more money, which I'll get into at the next board meeting, on fixing some of the other things that we got going on because of the storm.
And we were not the only school district that this happened. Smithson Valley High School also lost all 4 of their chillers. So there's a lot of people in the same boat as us. And so that's why we were really trying to get, I think we're pretty far up in the line because we went ahead, when he sent me the quote, we reviewed them real fast and I went ahead and signed off to get it moving. So do
Thank you for being so proactive. Good.
you want me to read?
We have a recommendation from staff for a motion.
Second.
So the motion is second, for the board approve the restroom to replace 2 chillers at Southwest Legacy High School for approximately $215,000. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you, Thomas.
Yes, sir.
Consider approval of summer school pay scale.
Yes, sir. So I'm sorry, this is going to be in front of the summer school presentation. But since it's an action item, it has to be placed on the board packet that way. But this is really because you're going to see in a little while, our summer school is going to be elevated. It's going to be longer. It's going to be more needs for staff. And so we're also seeing across the city that's going to probably happen to the other school districts. So we want to make sure that we're competing and comparable to other salaries that are going to happen. I think we're one of the first 2 districts. I will say this, I'm going to monitor this, and just in case everybody else goes up a lot higher on their wages for the summer school program, and we may come back and change. But currently, we're going to ask the board. We right now have a set fee that we pay our teachers hourly, admin, and different staff that we hire in the summer. That's been already approved by y'all back in August. And so we're asking y'all to raise that so that we can attract the teachers we need, the staff we need to have summer school this summer. And so I will also be bringing back probably at the next board meeting a cost of this, because we're going to be paying a little bit more, but we're also going to be adding a lot of additional staff to summer to catch up on what's kind of happened because of COVID. And so today I'm asking the board to approve the new rates so that we can publish these and start hiring for the summer school program.
A second.
So the motion is second. Board approve the new summer school pay scale changes as we have it for you. Other questions? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you. Okay, now items of information, we'll start with the strategic planning process.
Just going to turn this over to Dr. Fay. She is working as our point of contact, JG Consulting, who the board approved to work with our district for our next 5-year strategic plan. So Dr. Fay, some background, do some introductions.
Yeah, so thank you so much for approving JG Consulting in our last board meeting. And I've asked James and his team to come today to the board as an initial meeting with our board of trustees, so that he can give a high-level overview of the planning process for this upcoming year. And so welcome, James and team, and I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Fay. Good afternoon, distinguished members of the board, Board President Vasquez, members of the staff and community. My name is James Guerra. I'm the president and CEO of JG Consulting. It's a pleasure to introduce you to 2 members of the team. Joining me this afternoon is Dr. Steve Flores and Mr. Michael MacKay. The 2 individuals who are not with us today are Dr. Art Cavazos and Dr. Abigail Tarango. They both had prior commitments with their local districts, but it's nice to meet everyone this afternoon, and just wanted to provide you with a high-level overview, give you an opportunity to meet us, albeit virtually, and just to say thank you for entrusting us to support you in this capacity. We're eager to begin the strategic planning work. We've had some very good meetings early on with your staff, and we have a good high-level plan for you and want to just share brief introductions. So if I may, I'd like to give Dr. Flores and Mr. MacKay an opportunity to introduce themselves.
Thank you, Mr. Guerra, and again, good afternoon now. Distinguished board, Southwest ISD, we do look forward to working with you. My name is Steve Flores. I actually just retired last week, 1 week into retirement from Round Rock ISD. So I'm looking forward to working a strategic plan. Before that, I'd been in Harlingen CISD as the superintendent there for 5 years and 7.5 in Round Rock. Began as an instructional aide back in 1983. So some of you weren't even born. I get that, but guess what? I'm still here and I love what we do. And I'm excited about the work that Southwest ISD is encompassing with regard to a strategic plan. So thanks for having us. And again, look forward to meeting each and every single one of you.
Good afternoon, board. My name is Michael MacKay. Like James and Steve stated, we're honored to be able to work with you and your team. We look forward to this opportunity. Like your superintendent and Steve, I have a 35-year history in education. I went up through the ranks, became principal, high school principal for 11 years, assistant superintendent for several years, interim superintendent at the same district. I served in Fort Bend ISD for over 25 years, and then moved to Hayes, where I became superintendent, and then retired here a few years ago from Hayes ISD. But I'm honored to be part of James's team and really looking forward to working with you and your team.
Thank you, gentlemen, and they're being kind and gracious. It's really their team. They're the brain trust. I just put the pieces in play, but I defer to them because they have the expertise, the skill set. But again, we're eager to get started. Some of the early work that will take place is engaging both internal stakeholders, so including the school board, board of trustees, the staff, the faculty, and even the students, but also your external stakeholders, your constituents. So at a high level, we just want to convey to you that this work is very collaborative and transparent in nature. So everything that we do will be a very open process. So for everyone to have access to where we are with regard to the process, one of the ideas that we've shared both internally and with your team is that we can create a page accessible on the Southwest ISD website where we can provide some of the major milestones, major objectives that we seek to accomplish. We have no true end date in mind, so we want to keep this as flexible and as nimble as possible to reach our goals as we work together. So we're just very eager to get started. We have some high-level objectives that we seek to accomplish. The first being is just a brief introduction, letting you know who we are, but also to inform you that we are planning some of the back-end work where we can start creating some of those major milestones with your staff and faculty. And if it's the will of the board, we'd like to get to know you better by way of this process and engaging you, trying to better understand what some of your major goals and priorities and objectives are. So I think for today's sake, I think we wanted to introduce ourselves, let you know who we are, and on behalf of those two teammates who are here with us in spirit, let you know that they're a part of the team. We're your dedicated consultants with boots on the ground. And at some point, I'm sure we'll be meeting with you all in person. And then I think if it's appropriate at this time, Dr. Fay, if there are any questions, perhaps we answer any questions you might have of the team.
Yeah, someone just opened up to the trustees. Y'all have any questions for James or the admin?
I know you said that there's no end date in mind. However, do you have an idea of how long this process will take?
Yes, ma'am. Great question. So, and I say end date very loosely, obviously. I mean, we typically will conclude or wrap up a strategic planning framework within 5 to 6 months, but recognizing that we're approaching the summer months and that we're beginning during the springtime, we want to be sensitive to some of your major goals and objectives that you have on your dockets now as we approach the end of the school year. And being that it is still part of the work has taken place during COVID and during a pandemic, we want to be sensitive to those items. So we're going to be as flexible and nimble as possible. We're going to work at the will of the district and the board. So if you give us a timeline and a goal to accomplish, we'll work backwards from that end date.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I just want to make a comment. James, in our last strategic plan, one of the points of pride were there over 3,000 constituents who were involved in either focus surveys, input, gathering information. So I can ask our board, is that going to, are we going to fight that number? So I just want to publicly comment that it is our goal to provide 5,000 people externally involved in the process so that we can have voices culminating to what our objectives are moving forward in the next 5 years. And I know you embrace that, appreciate that. And that's a goal you also share.
Yeah, absolutely. And I thank you for restating that. So as a team, our aim is to reach as many of your constituents, both internally and externally as possible, whether it's at a macro level, large scale, small scale, it'll be a culmination of both. And so again, at the will of the district and the board, we're going to reach as many individuals as possible, including creating online surveys, both in English and in Spanish, for everyone to submit their input and feedback. And that information can be disaggregated and shared with the district and with the board in real time. So if we have weekly updates, for example, by the close of business every Friday, that information will be provided in a very succinct and legible report.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, and James, we look forward to working with you and look for great things to come out of this. Anyone else have any questions? Thank you again.
Thank you, James.
Joanne.
Thank you, everyone. Great meeting all of you virtually. Look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
Okay, next item of information, is that all you had?
Yes, sir.
I don't mean to be cutting you off. Okay, summer school 2021 update.
Yes, sir. We have Ms. Galila Garcia and Dr. Calle Escobedo, who are here, who have been working very diligently on a number of issues. Summer programming being one of many that's going on in curriculum and the different venues that we use to effectively continue education for our students and increase face-to-face opportunities. This presentation is strictly about summer programming. We know we are in the most unorthodox school year ever, and we know because of the state of the world that there is learning loss that we have to mitigate. And so our summer programming this 2021 summer will look much different than summer programming we've done in the past, and I'm sure in 2022 we will be contending with the same thing. And so I really appreciate Dr. Escobedo's leadership in this, and Dalila, of course, in working some of these angles. We're not 100% there, most likely, because it is a fluid situation until we get further into April and into May, where more things will be confirmed. So I'll turn it over to our esteemed Dr. Escobedo.
Thank you, Dr. Bursta. Thank you, Board President, Mr. Vasquez, and Board. So today I have a very high-level overview for you. As Dr. Bursta mentioned, things are still changing as we speak. So please feel free to let us know if you have any questions, and we'll provide additional updates for you. So this is just some background information. You already saw this. Did everyone receive an updated copy? Okay, good, because this is a little bit different. As we said, it's changing. So from what I sent Mona earlier last week, we've had a few changes since then. So you have the background information there. So I'm going to just look at the bullets. To let you know, as Dr. Bursa mentioned, we are having a very robust summer program this year, and we're calling them summer programs. The first one will be what we're calling Summer Session 1. That's going to be closing the gaps. This is to help ease that burden of our students who have lost learning due to COVID. So we'll have Closing the Gaps, and that will be for pre-K through 12th grade. Then we have Closing the Gaps for our high school, and I'll go into more detail in a moment. Then we have our EOC testing, and then we have our extracurricular in the Fine Arts Academy, which will be the extracurricular we've had and our community has come to love. We also have our compensatory service camps, and forgive me, I forgot to type that in, but we also have our Jumpstart Academies, which will be new for this year, and that will be for pre-K, K1 and 2. because those students traditionally have not come to summer program, because in the past, our summer programs have focused primarily on the core academics and those STAR grade levels. So at elementary, it's been our 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade students. However, we do realize and know that our pre-K, K1, and 2 students have also lost out. So we're adding that in July so that we can add that a little bit later. Just to let you know, all of our Closing the Gaps instruction will be face-to-face. This is part of our way to acclimate our students back into the classroom for those that have been primarily in a virtual setting. And we will have a hybrid model for some of our other programs, such as our special ed, realizing that we have some different needs to meet for those students and for our students. It will have a mastery of our milestone TEKS in reading and math at both the elementary and the middle school grades. Our high school program will be a focus on recovery of credit and then making sure that they can be able to pass the required EOC STAR exams. We will integrate SEL at both the elementary and the secondary. At elementary, that will be done through the PE rotations, and at the secondary level, that will be through the ELAR lessons. Just to let you know, we do have a cross-divisional district planning level committee. We meet every 2 weeks on Friday morning, and that includes us working with Brandon's division as well as several others so that we can coordinate transportation, meal services, ordering supplies for students, HR with hiring our teachers and things like that. So we've had very good cross-divisional summer working sessions. Our first summer session for elementary and middle will be from June 7th through the 24th. That will be on Monday through Thursday. For our high school students, if you notice, that's June 7th through the 17th because the state does not allow us to have EOC testing if the secondary summer session is still in session. So while the dates seem fewer, we are adding at the high school level, they'll actually begin that intervention in May. So it looks like they only have 7 days to prepare, but they'll be adjusting the master schedules for those students that need that additional time. Again, that will be Monday through Thursday from 8:30 to 2. Breakfast and lunch will be served, and we will offer transportation. So we have those dates there. Some of our locations will be changing, I just found out. So what we're planning right now, because it's very robust, in the past we've had 1 elementary, 1 middle, and then 1 high school. Because of the number of students that we're planning to invite based on their criteria, we are going with a cluster model. And so we were looking at Southwest Elementary would then host our fine arts program and our bilingual pre-K and our special language. Then Big Country would host for the Big Country area, that cluster site, which would be Big Country, Crewald, and Sun Valley. Bob Hope would then host for Bob Hope and Spicewood. Elm Creek for Elm Creek, Medio Creek, and Southwest Elementary, and that may need to change. I understand that because that's fluid. So it's just like moving a ship. We're going to change course in a moment. And then Sky Harbor would then be hosting for Sky Harbor, Indian Creek, and Hidden Cove. Then we're looking at McNair Middle School, hosting for McNair and Scobie, and then Resnick for Resnick and McCullough. As you know, there's still some construction projects going on, so we may have to adjust those as well for our secondary schools and possibly 1 elementary. So we are planning, because we do know that Southwest High School is completely off, not available due to the construction that was already scheduled and the damage from the storm. We're planning all high school to take place at Legacy. We may also be moving CASTEM to Legacy as well. So we'll get together with Thomas on that so that we can bring you an update. We are looking at the elementary. This is the elementary criteria, just so that you can see by grade band what our principals and teachers will be looking at as far as which students would then be invited to attend. Again, this is not a promotion or a retention summer school as it's been in the past due to STAR. So this is going to be to fill those gaps in, to be able to bridge the gaps with the milestone TEKS. So you can see there by the grade bands what the criteria is that we're looking at for reading and math. For our middle school, same thing. That's the criteria where the principals and teachers will be looking at for grades 6, 7, and 8. And then for the high school criteria, of course, that pretty much rests on EOC and then attendance recovery. Now, we know that our attendance, well, hopefully we won't have any more glitches with STAR testing, but as of right now, our STAR testing should be back. We should receive results about May the 13th. At that time, then we'll know which students we'll be inviting. So as you can see, it's moving, so we don't have numbers yet because this is moving data and it's live with our students. So the testing sites will be at Legacy. Not sure yet about CASTEM, that may change. And you can see there the EOC testing dates that we have for the high school. Our summer session 2, that would include then August the 2nd through the 13th for our Jumpstart Academies. By that time, the district is not working on the 4-day work week, but rather the 5-day work week. So then we would have Monday through Friday only from 8:30 to 11:30 for our pre-K, K1 and 2, because it's more developmentally appropriate for our younger students to have a 3-hour day as opposed to 6 hours. before they come back to school. So we want to entice them, we want them to, have fun, but we want to make sure that they're going to come, because if we tell them it's 6 hours, that may be a little long for some of our little ones. And so because it is a half day, we would only serve breakfast to the students. And there's information there for you regarding compensatory service camps. I'll just kind of summarize that for you. Basically, if a student lost out to some services during the year because they went virtual as opposed to face-to-face, or we were not able to offer everything, whether it was special ed 504, dyslexia, then we would go ahead, those committee meetings would take place at the campus, and they would determine if those students qualify for the services and if it would be in their best interest to be invited. So this would be another reason why we would then be enrolling actually more students and inviting more students, which would create that larger, robust program that Dr. Versta mentioned. So our primary level Jumpstart Academies, as I mentioned there, August 2nd through the 13th. And then with that, though, every elementary school will host their own Jumpstart Academy. So this gets the kids back into their campus, again, working with that transition to have them come back for a face-to-face with their teachers. And then we are going to ask that their teachers for this next year be the ones to invite them so they get acclimated back to the school and get to see who their teacher is. And summer session 2, that would be July the 26th through August the 12th. That's for the compensatory services. That would be 12 days. That one will only be Monday through Thursday, so as they transition in. And again, because it's a half day, would be breakfast only being served. For our extracurricular programs, you can see there, this is pretty much what we've offered in the past for our fine arts. Our elementary, the elementary program would take place at Southwest Elementary. And you can see it's, like as I mentioned before, what we've provided in the past. The next slide, we have our middle school and high school extracurricular, the additive, and the fine arts programs there. And then for our teacher PD, because May 31st, which is our weekend before we get out on June 5th, we decided we would go ahead and have that from 8:30 to 12:30. That would be virtual PD for all of our summer school staff that's hired. You can see the items that would be on their agenda that day. And then Saturday, June 5th, that's the last day of their current contract. So after that, they'd be able to go back to their classroom that they'll be assigned to for summer school and get the classroom ready, because then on Monday they'll get the students. On the next slide, you can see the dates that we have ready to calendar for things that are coming up, which I've already covered within the presentation. And do you have any questions for us? I know it's fast and furious, but.
Any idea about how many kids will be by choice? In other words, their choice?
We are planning for approximately
And how many have to be?
5,000 students, is that correct?
Wow.
Yeah, we had already a preliminary count just based on different criteria than what was shared earlier. And we had around 760 for middle school and about 1,700 for high school. And this is where we're looking at all the retesters for the high school.
Okay, those are
And
the,
so that's definitely our focus. And so for the elementary, we had a count that included like the way we've operated in the past, which is just the retention numbers. But that's not our focus this year. We want to go back and look at 2019, those scores, because that was like the first actual assessment. So that's for our 5th graders. And so for every other grade level, we have a different criteria. Or we're looking at the students that could potentially lost some instruction for whatever reason, maybe attendance or no engagement. And so we're looking at any student that even right now with our current assessments that we could see that in the years to come, they will continue to struggle if we don't close this gap. So we're really looking for not the number that we had anticipated in the years past, but we really want to go, down to adding some additional students that we know that are going to need the assistance right now.
It's also possible that for summer session 1 and 2, if I'm a student receiving special ed or compensatory, or let's say 504 dyslexia, I could be invited to the first summer session, which is going to focus on reading and math. But then I may also come to the second summer session, which would be to then receive the compensatory services that I qualify for. Also, federal law does not allow us to provide compensatory services at the same time the regular summer program is offered. And so that's why we have a second session too. So I could come for the first summer session because I struggled in reading and I didn't get as much help during the year, or I just didn't grasp all of those major teaks. But then I could also come the second summer session because I'm a student with dyslexia and I receive dyslexia services. So as I said before, those will all be determined through the meetings that the campuses will hold, the principals with their either 504 or ARD committees.
Can you talk, you mentioned in your presentation how milestone teams and also referred to as anchor teams.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about what the emphasis will be on during?
Yes, the emphasis will be, and through the curriculum department, Bonnie Robinson and her team have created the milestone checklist. And so these are TEKS that we know are tested through the STAR. Also, these are TEKS that we know that if a student has mastery, they will be successful at the next grade level. So if it looks like I haven't mastered my grade level TEKS, even if I'm at second grade and it's a non-STAR grade level, I need to master those TEKS to make sure that when I go on to third grade, I will be successful. Because now we have our transition, for example, moving from second grade to third grade. Now next year, I will be taking the STAR, although this year I did not. So we're looking at those milestone TEKS between the literacy and the numeracy to make sure that students have what they need to be successful in the next grade level that they're going to. Any other questions?
Busy summer.
Yes, very busy
So
summer.
you're getting like version number.
12?
12,
12, I think.
So it has been, I do appreciate, all the divisions for this effort and all the directors. I know that our director for child nutrition and also our for transportation, that we've got a lot of people involved in this, and I appreciate Dr. Escobar for leading this work. So thank you to everyone that's part of this.
And how did you get any feedback with regard to the clusters and as opposed to the one campus for everybody model?
The initial conversation was first, even right now, we just received a message that there's gonna be a site change due to construction. But the initial concern was who's going to oversee those programs. So we appreciate, just the action item that was just approved right now, that we will be having some site administrators, which is always the reason why, it's the logistics of it.
Right.
So other than that, we're gonna move forward with now hiring people to be able to help us organize the work. And then as far as, any other part of the principals that are part of these sites, they've been met. We already met with them, and Dr. Escobar met with them, so they're already aware. And so now after the staff scale that was going to be presented, we're gonna be posting for positions, and then we can move forward.
So part of the agenda item that the board approved today to increase the hourly rate for our summer support staff, professionals, administrator. We know that our teachers are tired and worn out, and we also did a survey. Brandon provided some information to the group about where we compared, and we were not the top ranked paying and summer program, but we're definitely in the top tier. And this additional supplemental hourly increase keeps us in the top tier. Also encourages those teachers to see that there's a benefit return on their investment of time to continue. And we also want to build in some opportunities for people to get a little R&R, including our principals, which is why we decided to have a site administrator, because we know our principals also need a recharge for next year and come back. Because even though we're coming out of the pandemic, next year will still look a little different than traditionally we all recognize and understand. And so thank you for doing that, knowing that our board we supports those opportunities for our staff. And just so you know, we still would not be ranked #1, but we definitely are in a tier 1 ranking when it comes to paying our staff. Now there's a budget plan for this that we have not brought to the board today, that Mr. Chris will bring to the board on April the 20th. We normally budget around $800,000 for our summer programs. Doing the 3 different phases of summer school, it's almost going all the way through summer and the jump start for next year. We're pretty sure that our budget will double. That would be a fund balance item. I can tell you in my superintendent weekly meetings that we have, that every district that I spoke to, they're in the same predicament. There are some ESSER funds that are supposed to flow through from the federal government to the districts that since last May have not. ESSER 1 never came into the district. ESSER 2 doesn't look like it's coming to the district. The state normally uses those funds to supplant things at the state level or to come up with their own program. And I know a lot of you are involved in different coalitions and different groups. We're trying to make our voice heard in Austin and throughout. I know it was a great op-ed this Sunday, past Sunday, from Farrell Harrell, who really spoke really good about that in the op-ed, about how these funds need to come to school. We are hoping that some of those funds, a percent of those funds come to the schools that will help pay for some of these. And if they do, we would roll that back into fund balance. But we do plan to bring you the best scenario that we think that this will cost on April 20th. But just so we can kind of just have a prerequisite to that meeting, it would be a foot item to mitigate this loss. And we're trying to make all of our local state leaders know that we need those funds to come down to the school district so we can take care of our students who are the ones who are suffering the most and need the most attention right now. And we hope that that's heard and that does happen.
Well, it'll be money well spent.
Yes.
I mean, you can hardly, put a price on preparing the kids to come back to school next fall. And I think it's really important that those that are struggling the most, that we shore them up, because if we don't, we're gonna pay the price in August, right? And if we can do that over the summer, I know it's gonna cost a little bit of money, whether we can make it up or not, I think we can't be too concerned about that. The good news is that we're very well, we have money and this is the right place to put it in.
We are also attaching, so the board knows, and that's a really good point, but we're also attaching, so the board knows, a SEL component into our summer programming. We know that our students are going to have to acclimate back into large groups. We know that they're going to have to contend with being in isolation for a long period of time and not coming back and getting into routines and schedules. And we know that they're dealing with some things. And I know our next item of information is going to address some of those items. But so that's a big part of using our summer programming, is to really deal with some of those issues that our students may be going through and doing some outreach with our kids while we have them on campuses as well. Give you an idea, ESSER 1, which was May of 2020, our district should receive about $3 million, I think. ESSER 2, which was already approved and hasn't flowed through, we should receive around $14 million. And ESSER 3, it's estimated that we should get about $28 to $30 million. And if we can get a percentage of those funds, we can use it for summer programming. And we're hoping the state doesn't keep all the funds, but the way it's going right now, so far, that's what's happening. And so any opportunity you have to reach out to a local state leader, and I know our Bear County delegation, they're really good.
Yeah, we need to get a list out of those that, even though they're not our state reps, that they're the ones holding back this funding. And I got something from the De Leons earlier today.
Yes.
Where there's around 14 billion that the state hasn't even accepted yet.
Yeah. 128 states, the schools already have it. Never a problem. Texas, different.
Are the teachers that are doing summer school, they're only gonna have one prep for their one class that they have to teach? Or for the high school?
For the most part, we're gonna keep, so in the elementary is the grade level, we're gonna hire reading and math and then PE coaches. That's the goal for the elementary. For the high school, it's around the EOC testing. And then the credit recovery for the most part is done with the online, the community. And so the students will have that, it's almost like self-paced, the community program. And then we also did, I don't know, we mentioned here, but also like the bridge. So we've got like a little bit of everything for the high schools, which is also for the dual credit. We have an opportunity with our outside, our partners, our high secondary partners. So they will not be carrying, definitely not more than 2 credits.
So the additional staff will also be for our pre-K, K1 and 2 teachers, because in the past we haven't hired them. It's been at 3, 4, and 5 for start grade levels. And then nurses at each site, so we'll have more this year than we've had in the past.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Escobedo.
Okay. Item C, update on Southwest Cares and social emotional support programs and initiatives in our district. Who's got that?
Yes, we do have a presentation. If I can turn it over to Dalila. We have, I think, Mr. Pedro Ramirez, who's going to come on, and he's very engaged with our Southwest Cares entity, which does a number of things. They deal with crisis situations, they deal with bereavement and a number of other things. And we know that this pandemic has brought on a whole different phase of outreach and opportunities for us to assist families and assist students. And we have, thanks to the board for past decisions to make sure we have our social workers at every one of our campuses, make sure that we have our counselors. So we're staffed in those areas, but the need is greater than what the staff is. But if we can work collaboratively and collectively together, we are very confident we can address some of the needs that we don't know are coming, but that we'll be prepared for. And so we thought it was a good time to bring a presentation about social emotional learning to our board at this time. And so I'll turn it over to either Dr. Fay or Dalila. I know this is kind of a cross-division effort, and so they've been working together. And it doesn't matter what division we work in, it's all about putting programs together to make sure our families and our kids are taken care of.
So we actually have two members, one Adrian, who kind of leads and facilitates the Southwest Cares team, along with Luis Gonzalez, who is our Director of Guidance and Counseling for the district and Curriculum and Instruction. And so they've done some really, really great work in the district. And I think that I'm going to give a big thank you to Adrian, who's done a really good job of synthesizing all of it and putting it into a format that hopefully we can all understand. And Luis, thank you for being here as well, but I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Adrian.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm gonna share my screen. Hopefully you can hear me, and hopefully you can see my screen as well.
Yeah.
Okay, great. I'll go ahead and get started. So I do want to start off by talking about the collaborative nature of what we've done so far. This truly has been a collaborative approach or a collaborative effort that really involves individuals from across all divisions and departments. And the idea here is to make sure that we all understand the programs that are out there that exist, that each department oversees and that each department has created to support students, to support parents, community, and even our employees. So we wanted to make sure that we were all aware of what everybody does, in their own departments, within their own divisions. And we came together to put this all together. And what that does is that really just makes it easier for us to, whenever we do have a parent or a student who is in need of support, we don't have to wonder about where or who the best person is to refer them to. We already know what exists as far as programs and support, and that just makes it easier, and it enables us to get support to students and families a lot faster. So what I want to do is I want to basically start off by showing you what our group, our District Southwest Cares team, has put together as far as making sure that parents, or making sure that the programs that we have and the initiatives that we have and the support that we have are communicated to everybody who needs access to them. So we've actually created a website that has a lot of this information for everybody who needs it. We do have on our first page a couple things that I do want to point out. One is just kind of what the goals that we actually have put in place for our particular group and for our district as well, and of course the main goal is to make sure that we identify the unique needs of all individuals and apply the best possible services and systems of support to help them. We also have a kind of a little diagram here, or a little visual that shows who our district support team members are. And you'll notice here, and I do want to point this out, that again, they come from all divisions here: administration, human resources, from counseling, from curriculum instruction, our law enforcement department as well, health services, and others, our community relations, and so forth. And our goal here, like I said, is to make sure that we don't leave anything out as far as support. And we focus on several things, including suicide prevention, trauma-informed care, and providing threat assessments and health and wellness services. And also, a big part of what we're doing now is the social-emotional learning piece as well. But we definitely want to make sure that intervention and prevention pieces are in place. In addition to our District Southwest Cares team, we also have campus teams. Our campuses have developed their own support teams, and their teams mirror our district team. We wanted to make sure that we really we wanted to make sure that lines of communication were open so that we could not only provide support, but also work together to maximize the services that were offered to students, families, and community and employees. So these are our district, or excuse me, our campus support teams that have been put together at the campuses. And we also wanted to, on this first page, make sure that parents, if they needed quick access to help, support, and so forth, that we made sure that the information was there for them. They didn't have to go hunting for it or looking for it. So we included on our first page not only the See Something, Say Something reporting tools that provide parents an opportunity to report incidents of bullying, alleged bullying, and other community concerns, but we've also included the campus and counselor social worker request form that Luis will talk a little bit more about here shortly. And again, here, depending on the nature or the needs that parents are exhibiting or students are exhibiting, we also have the support lines that parents have access to, that they can refer to and get help as quickly as possible, again, depending on what their needs are at that particular time. So this information is here on this first page. And we also, on this website, have addressed 3 areas that really are our requirements. As per Senate Bill 11, we address suicide prevention. We have provided support tools and things like that for, parents as well. And Luis, I'll let you talk a little bit more about what we have on this particular page.
Yes, and thank you, Adrian, for that introduction and giving us a little, just an overall view of that. And so, if you can maneuver, if you can click on the suicide prevention, if you can go down, we have a lot of those resources that are available for our parents. So we want to make sure that they have access to these, which is what most districts in the state use, at least here locally that we use. These are national hotlines, et cetera. And so not only are they found here, but they are also found and in our guidance and counseling webpage, on Counseling Corners, and in our school sites as well. So we want to make sure that we have all of these available in different ways that the parents can reach them. And so if you go up, and so it gives them some the phone numbers, those hotlines. If you can get back to our webpage, that's just one of those resources that is linked there. If we go back to the webpage, you can see also in here where there's a couple of things that they can read just based off of this, what suicide is, the definitions and introduction to that, and some of the signs and symptoms that may be there. So most of these things are linked, as I mentioned. And so we also have these 5 action steps for helping someone that's in emotional pain. So this is just, that piece of Southwest Care's webpage, which is the suicide prevention piece. So if you go up, please, Adrian, if you go and actually, yes, you can maneuver around the subheadings. For example, if you want to go on the trauma-informed care, and on this one, we also want to make sure that all of our campuses will be trauma-informed. And so this goes right along with something that we will talk a little bit about on Handle with Care. Handle with Care, which is also an initiative through SAPD and Bexar County. Just this supports all of that together. And so being able to have our staff members at the campuses, down to the teachers, know that, that when they are dealing with our students which are coming with trauma, and trauma means many things. Right now, we've all gone through so many different things like loss, with COVID, whether it be actual life loss or just so many things that our parents are going through with loss of jobs and of course changing the status at their home, et cetera. And so just having our team members, our staff members be sensitive to those things and asking the correct questions rather than, if a student is behaving in a certain way or showing different signs, that they approach it in a way that is trauma-informed, which means sensitive to that, and knowing that you don't want to provoke, you don't want to also reinitiate a trauma. And so that training is very important for our students. So trauma-informed care means just having our staff and the knowledge of that, and of course comes with different things that we are providing for our campuses. So all this falls right under our that big umbrella that Southwest Cares is. Also along there, if you can jump over to our, if you can go to the prevention, and there you go. And so you'll see that here we have different things that we will talk a little bit about as well. And on the social emotional learning, that's the piece. And I don't know, Adrian, do you want me to talk a little bit about that now, or as we go through your course?
No, go ahead. Feel free to.
And so on our social emotional learning, that's as Dr. Verstoff as well mentioned. I mean, that is a big piece that we are doing. And so there's different stages of that. And so you'll see that what we're trying to do is have our students, these 5 competencies that are here, which is self-awareness, self-management, relationship skills, social awareness, and responsible decision making. These are the 5 components or competencies that we focus on through our social and emotional learning. So one of the things that we want to do with this, and on this web page here, you'll see that we have some parent and student resources that they also have, and that we will be updating as we add to it. We have some videos for our parents on how to do these type of activities at home with their students as well, especially right now that we are, we are virtual. And so, we're wanting to provide them not only the virtual instruction as we talked about summer school, but also this SEL and the importance of that support that our students need at home. And not only that, but our parents as well. And so any resources that we have, we also want to be able to do that focus on SEL for adults, which includes not only our parents, but also our staff. We cannot forget that our staff goes through this as well, to include counselors, social workers, and administrators. And so we are very conscious of that. And so we want to be able to provide some support to our adults as well. So the SEL component being a big part of prevention, we do have our guidance and counseling, or our guidance, lessons at the elementary level. And so we have been utilizing a program that through Region 20, there was a collaborative that was a free program started last year when COVID first happened. We jumped on board. A couple of other districts in the city jumped on board, and we said, yes, we want to sample this program. And so it's called Quaver SEL. And so this is a great resource that we have been utilizing starting next year. And they extended the free use all this year. And so it's a great program that we are in conversation with counselors at the campus level. And I'm gathering information as to us continuing that social emotional piece or resource that they can utilize. So Adrian,
I do want to add also, we've had some questions about, well, why self-awareness, self-management, relationship skills, and how do we actually track that? How do we actually determine that students need support in these areas? And we do have a program that we acquired this year, Panorama. Panorama, at various times throughout the year, 2 to 3 times a year, what we'll do is they have us actually administer competency surveys to students. And that's where we get a lot of the data that we use to determine where we can best support students in the area of SEL. Not only do they help us identify, where students may need support, they also provide us with a playbook, a collection of lessons, activities, and resources that are designed to help us provide support for students in these specific areas, so that the next time they're surveyed, we see a change in their competency levels with regard to these 5 areas. So we are looking at our next survey window opening up in May, and we are looking at also working with campuses to make sure that we're not only looking at the data, but we're also responding to the data and coming up with and developing plans for addressing concerns that we may be seeing. So, and going back to what Luis is saying here about SEL, I do know that we are also putting out a Focus on Wellness newsletter every month. We're happy with the number of people, the number of views that the data show that we're getting. So we have quite a few people, in other words, looking at this newsletter and hopefully using some of the information and resources that are contained in each of these newsletters each month. So we're going to continue to put those out and hope that more and more people use them and refer to them, and benefit from them.
Yes, and absolutely, as Adrian mentioned with the Panorama, and so we are currently looking at, and in conjunction with summer school, as Ms. Garcia and Dr. Escobedo talked a little bit about, and that support for SEL that we are wanting to incorporate into summer school as well. And by utilizing Panorama's lessons, because Panorama has a variety of lessons as well there that spans through high school level lessons as well. So we will be utilizing that program as well in the summer.
As part of Senate Bill 11, we also have, again, not just the focus on these 3 areas, but also threat assessments as well. And we also work closely to determine, the level of threat or the potential for threat and who is likely to be affected by any threat that may exist. So we have that here also to communicate information in that area. And I also want to mention the prevention, some more information about prevention intervention. We felt within Southwest Cares that there also needed to be a focus on our special populations. And so we actually have information and resources that are specific to students receiving special services. And we wanted to make sure that we created these resources and that we brought together these resources, not just for students who are actually receiving special services, but also those who may find themselves in special circumstances as well. I know our Southwest Police Department has actually initiated or has actually started their Southwest Promise program with students. And I think we recently had 3 graduates from that program. And they're also supporting a LEAD program, Law Enforcement Against Drugs program as well, that they've taken several students through on a couple of campuses also. So they're also a very big part of our district's efforts to provide intervention and prevention services to students. And we're also developing other prevention and intervention programs as well within our district. So we also have, as part of this, again, our focus on health and wellness, which Valerie Maldonado has really helped us out with, especially given the pandemic and the situation related to the pandemic this year. And so there's information there also, along with community resources that we want to make sure that we develop and that we communicate to parents as well. So a lot of what we offer in terms of support, mental health support and services, we have here contained on this webpage that, again, we want to make sure that students, parents, community, and even employees are able to access and utilize. So are there any questions before we move on?
Adrian, this is really good and interesting stuff. I'm very interested in seeing, once you get the information in May, what the collated results are and what the plan is to address any concerns that bubble up at that point. If you don't mind coming back and presenting.
Absolutely. Thank you.
This is really good. I didn't realize we had such a good infrastructure already. I know that we had started working on it a while back, but y'all have done a lot in a very short period of time. And it looks good. It looks like we'll be ready when the kids come back.
Thank you.
I just wanted to mention, this was, Southwest Cares was already in place pre-pandemic. And so it was an opportunity to build upon the foundation that was already started because of the needs of our youth and families and even our PD. I know they do some really incredible work that's proactive in nature. And I know we were able to celebrate, Mr. Brown was there at Video Creek a few Saturdays ago. I think it was a few, I don't remember. So 3 of the students who met the criteria to made a bad decision, created a record, and able to expunge that record by meeting certain criteria and agreeing to a 6-week program embraced by the city. Our district attorney, Joe Gonzalez, was able to attend as well and was a keynote and speak to those. It was a pilot program, but the success means we're going to continue and even add more students to those opportunities, which is a component of Southwest Cares. So all those bubbles around Southwest Cares, and the number of people looking out and trying to be proactive and really help our families. It'd be great work.
I'm super excited to learn that we have expanded our Southwest Care. I think facilitating this type of information and putting together this vision and mission for our students is very important, because even before the pandemic, I know Yolanda and I attended a NALEO training, and they were very specific about social emotional learning. It's very important right now during this time of crisis for all the students, because there's a lot of students that are having difficulties, and I think that getting the schools involved was very important, very important piece.
And we've been just adding pieces to it. I know that just recently, Louise, if you want to just share a little bit on the Greek bags.
Yes, yes, and I was going to say that, I mean, all of these different departments has been great to see it all come into action, from the Handle with Cares to the Say Something, See Something, where we collaborate through different departments. I mean, it's just been very, very helpful, and so it's a lot easier for us to just maneuver around things like this. So we have a great communication piece that that we staff, we come together real fast, and then of course we refer to the person or the department that is needed. I mean, we just the week prior to this one, we had a report from one of our students that reported a specific sensitive incident, which we acted on it very fast, and then of course the proper department took care of that. And so those are some of those things. And so that it just so happens that it's just that collaboration helps so much. I'm sorry, I had that I wanted to share, but also for looking up for the future, as we've been going through, we are also collaborating with a specific person that we've been in communication with, relating to our future. And so one of the things that we've been communicating with is actually Tali Dolgi from the Jewish Family Service, and we want to collaborate for something that we can bring, maybe something similar to what other districts around us have been presenting, and so that we can provide that other support for family in our community. And so we have a meeting actually with this person from this agency and some other agencies coming up in April, and so we want to be able to produce something for Southwest ISD, not only what we have as Southwest Cares, but also beyond, and also for those referrals that go beyond what we can support, through our staff here.
We do have, as part of a district group, we're continuing to look at, any and all possible services that will make access to mental health support, even greater and even faster. And so we're exploring partnerships with other agencies where we're looking at ways that we can actually bring those services to the district rather than referring students and families out, and instead have those here with us so that we can ensure that they're receiving the help and the support that they need. So,
is there any trauma? I know Southwest Cares is more engaged towards students, but is there any engagement with our teachers that are having some kind of traumas that are happening at the school levels, or how are we engaging those teachers that are engaging those kind of traumas?
Did you hear that, Adrian?
I didn't.
So the question is related to how are we working with our current staff who may be experiencing some similar issues. And I know that we do have Mary Lou that kind of works under your umbrella that does a great bit of work there. Did you want to address that?
Yes, Mary Lou actually is part of the adult side of the wellness, the focus on wellness. And I do actually have a sample here of what she puts out. This is part of my email. So, but I'll just kind of show you here quickly. This focus on wellness letter does go out on district announcements. And what it does is it not only reminds them of either upcoming events that are tied to social emotional learning, but what's really neat here is she also shares information about not just nutrition, for example, but all those things that are kind of tied to a person's overall well-being. What we especially like here, and I don't know if you can see this or how well you can see this, is the happiness calendar, where there's a tip every day for every day of the month. There is a tip for working on, and improving just, a person's, how they're feeling at that point, their wellness, let's say. And so these tips are great. Some of them apply. Some of them maybe we can adjust. And that's kind of the neat thing about this calendar. You can adjust them to meet your own specific needs. For our adults in our system, there's also resources as well that they can tap into and utilize in the event that they are struggling with, any particular crisis or situation. What Luis talked about a second ago, as far as the communication, I think that's really been a huge benefit to our group, and it really helps us with communicating with our campuses as well. We're all aware. We've had a couple of recent incidents that have happened in the community, and right away, that same day, we've been actually able to come together as a district Southwest Cares team and with the campuses that are involved to talk about the situation, to talk about any support that may be needed, and to offer support to our campuses. And they're doing a great job also of taking care of the situation and understanding what it involves, what it's going to require as far as support for the students and families. And so the communication, if there is an issue or a concern regarding an adult within our system who's struggling, then we also know where to refer that person to for support with what they may be dealing with. So
I think I speak on behalf of Dalila, works with a group of principals. I work with a group of principals, and then of course we have Nicole Cappy who works. There's never been a time in our district when principals have been so in tune with the needs of their faculty like today, right? And so a big shout out to the principals who are on campuses living this every day, because they're doing an incredible job of tending to the needs of their kids along with their staff. And we've had some really challenging situations. And then, of course, we have a great infrastructure, thanks to our board of trustees, with the help of counselors on every campus, social workers on every campus. We have our benefits department, and Mary Lebry, our director of benefits, she needs a big shout out because she really is working with Will Baker, with our employees around what's happening on the employee side of this. And then, of course, I think to our board of trustees, who has done an incredible job of giving space to the leadership in the district to work with our faculties and work with our teachers. So I think all around, we're much better and much more in tune now than we ever have been with the needs of our staff. And of course, we can always get better. But I think that thanks to this work, and then thanks to the work that Will and Mary do specifically, I think it's been really healthy. And then just huge shout out to principals who are just dealing with an unprecedented time with students and staff. And so they're doing the great work that needs to happen. So it's great to hear that.
Absolutely. Yes, and if I, absolutely agree, with that support that we're providing for our students and our staff, and also we, even going beyond. I mean, recently, as we all know, there's been great increase in loss and grief in our community and all around the city, and so one of the things that we put together was a team of counselors and social workers, and we've had them create what we're calling grief bags, and so these grief bags will be something that we are going to give to our students to take home for our families. These grief bags actually have resources, have manipulatives, things that will help them, just go through this loss, from little storytelling things that they can also link through, and also having stress balls, coloring pages, etc., depending on the level of the student. And of course, with those resources like the Children's Bereavement Center contact information, etc., for our parents to take to have access to that. And so we're trying to support not only, like we said, our students and our staff, but also our families who right now, a lot of us are going through so many different things, with loss. And so that is one thing that that's very soon. We just presented to senior staff. And so that's something that's, fresh and will be going out very soon here. So I wanted to also include that.
Well, thank you, Adrian. Thank you, Luis. And
thank you.
You've done a great job, both of you. Craig. Thank you all.
Excellent job.
Keep up the great work, which we know you will. With that said, we have other business. Dr. Verstuff?
Yes, sir, I know there's some questions, I know I called Mr. Vasquez, there's some questions about the update status on the elections, and I know that Mr. Chris received some information from Bear County Elections Department that they can only offer the site at McAuliffe Middle School for Southwest ISD elections, that they do not need the site, which was news when we got the email to us, because everything that we thought that we were having conversations. I don't want to throw them under a bus in any way, because I don't remember every conversation, but I think our thinking was that it was going to be a dual site. Then we heard from them in a written email that basically said, hey, we don't need that site because we have Palo Alto College, we have Johnson Library, and they're both about a mile to 2 miles, 3 miles away from that site. And so when we work with Bear County's elections, we have to understand that they're doing the county, they're doing the district, they're doing the city, and so it's kind of this tripod of people. They only have so many sites and so many machines, so they make a decision. And so I know in the beginning, when we were talking about elections, we were trying to get up to 4 early voting sites here in Southwest ISD. It seemed that mountain decline was a very tall mountain. Did not happen. We were able to get 1 early voting site in our district in addition to central office. So I just wanted to make sure that was new information that came up to us through communication. I don't know if I covered it all, Brandon. Yeah. But I just wanted to make sure the board understood that, had that. I know I've reached out to some of you, forwarded the emails, put the information together and send it out. So there may be some questions about that. We'll try to answer them if we can.
I'm not understanding, I guess I misunderstood even the last time I had asked about this. So the McAuliffe site is going to be available to us for early voting,
Yes.
but it's only going to be available for the school vote, not for the city vote.
For the city, yes, because the city picks their sites just like we pick ours. And according to Bear County, the city doesn't need that site. They have other needs across the city because they have other places that have requested sites like we did initially. And having Johnson Library and Palo Alto right there for their city elections, they have other locations they could get extra sites they'd rather have it. And so Bear County is telling us that the city doesn't want that site.
So what is their response to the fact that they do not have 1 site within Southwest boundaries? Because Johnston is north side and Palo Alto College is south San.
They don't look at it at school districts level. They look at it at the city level in their precincts. So they don't base it off the school district boundaries for the city elections, like school districts do for it. Like we do it in ours, and we don't look at city or county on where we should put ours. We look at our boundaries and where our neighborhoods are. They do the same strategy. I mean, I'm not in those meetings, but that's kind of where she kind of laid out. This is the city kind of chooses.
So basically none of our city voters will be able to access any voting site where they can do both ballots.
Correct. For the early voting.
Okay, and Jackie understood this?
Yeah. Well, yes.
Did you explain to her that, some of her candidates were already trying to inform the public?
Yeah.
What did she say? She didn't care?
What was your comment?
Well, I mean, the comment is that she never committed to that. We offered it to her. She didn't say that in her discussion with the board was that, because she didn't know boundaries either, she didn't look at it. The discussion with the board that night was that we were gonna put a co-site at Johnston and co-site at Palo Alto.
Right.
The next day she went back and looked at boundary lines, and those schools weren't in our boundaries. Because when we're on our joint election, with LIDO, we're running a standalone.
Right.
So we can't go outside our jurisdiction except in LIDO, because that's who we're doing elections with. If we would have been with Bear County, it would have been the other way around.
Right. So it's our fault basically. It's this school board's fault that
I'm
none
not
of our
saying
constituencies
that.
can go to 1 early voting site and vote for their city elections and their school elections, basically. So we voted on a particular outcome. However, that outcome is nullified. We were not able to meet anything that that this board voted on.
Except an additional voting site.
like one additional voting
Exactly.
site, right? But no voting sites that straddle both the city election or the district election.
I want to be real clear. I don't think we voted for sites. I think we voted for the joint election. And in that same meeting, I just sent that clip through email to everyone. That we started bringing up site, and we said, no, we have to get with Bear County, because we don't know what, we don't know what we're gonna hear back from them. So we couldn't just pick the sites, because that's who we contract with,
Right.
to basically run the election. So I don't think we voted for any number of sites. I think we said.
Actually,
Yeah,
we voted for
exactly.
4 sites.
No, we
Sorry.
voted we voted for if the county could give us the 4 sites. It
Option
was
C,
all based on what the county could provide for us.
option C said 4 additional sites. It
with the
didn't say up to
possibility.
4 additional sites, it just said 4 sites.
I think the intention was there, but we didn't know that it was gonna end up like that.
I would just be transparent with everybody on the board background. It does say this is all based on availability by the Bear County. Because, the board approved the joint election with Lyle, which puts us in a standalone. We asked for 4, the only site, they didn't even offer me a site till that night of the meeting. They finally said, okay, we're gonna give you Lisa McCullough. I offered McCullough as a city site so that they would be in text to give us another one, because at that time, we weren't even getting an extra one.
Yeah.
So that was where I told Bear County, we really like additional sites. What can we do here? We got McCullough right now as a site that we know is really good for our district. Y'all can use it. And then that's when the question came about the sites at the other places. And so at that point, she was committing to those because they already have those as city sites. But the next day she went back and looked and told us that we couldn't use those.
Right.
So we basically voted without any information, facts. We went on a vote for off false pretense.
No, we didn't go anything on false pretense.
We voted based on what we knew at the time. We voted based on what we wanted to do at the time. And from the best information we had, obviously now we have more information, not to our favor. So I think, and there's no changing what we've got right now. So what we need to do is probably look into hiring, if we have to, appointing someone if we have to for future elections, to find out exactly what we can do and can't do with Bear County, without Bear County, and move forward.
It's very simple. It's very simple. There would have been no repercussions if we had voted to go with Bear County. There would have been no negatives to that vote.
We did go with Bear
But we
County.
voted to go with Lytle, which means that we disenfranchise and suppress the vote of every citizen that lives within the city limits.
Well, the city is disenfranchising them also because
Yes.
we have a huge
Yes.
school district and
Yes.
and Bear County
I
does
agree.
not have one single
I agree.
early voting site.
I agree, but
that
we
they
could have
run
done
in
better.
our
We could
city.
have done better at this level.
And
And now, how
our,
are we gonna notify all our citizens of this information? How are we, the city, because we're not with the city, none of that information transfers to us. So how do we make sure that all our community understands that they have to go to a separate site and that McCullough is available? And what sites are available on the day of voting?
Well, it's on the website, isn't it?
It's one website.
Well, we all
One
have
place.
social media. We just can put it all on our social media.
Well, I think it's incumbent upon the district as well. We have a very strong PR department. We have a very extensive reach across this community through our social media, through our newsletter, through our website, through our marquees. I think the least that we can do after this vote is try 100% to communicate to our community where they need to go vote, how they're gonna vote, and when they're gonna vote.
Yeah, that's something we can do, through our PR department, is make that information available.
Because we don't have that much time now to inform the public. And I am like, I am beside myself. This is wrong. this should not have happened. There's no reason that this should have happened. And I know it was just said, well, you know, it doesn't benefit any of us. I beg to differ. And if anyone looks at us really good and hard, we're not gonna look very good.
I got a question, sir. The question is, the day of the elections, for our people, say I am on Legacy and I'm at a game, but I live in big countryside, could I vote at McCullough? So would I be able to vote anywhere in our district?
Well, not McCall, but I think on election day, it's at 4 or 5 sites, right?
It's 5 in Sky Harbor.
So if I live in Sky Harbor area, can I vote at central office or could I vote at Big Country?
Yes, that's my understanding, right?
For the district
Yeah,
election.
for district, or in district.
Yes.
Well,
Because in the past,
it's always been precinct.
precinct.
You have a map, and you go to your precinct and vote.
So then there's not even, we don't even have that mobility.
I can ask them. if we can make
Because
it
I know
work.
Bear County has that mobility.
Yeah, the county has that mobility. I will ask them if that's a possibility where you.
But
can go.
as far as you know, the people
previous
have to
pass-
go within their own district. I mean,
Previous
their own
pass is based on the precincts, because we post them by precincts. I have to double check.
And the thing is, during the past elections, the precincts were always getting messed up where you can vote, where you can't vote, because Von Harmon is one of those big ones where they used to be able to vote at, Bob Hope, and then they had to go to Spiceville, or they had to vote at Bob Hope, and then they had to go to, Sky Harbor. So the precincts were all messed up during that time, during some of these elections, where it was chaos.
I'll double check that, because,
My understanding was on election day, you could vote, I think with the 5.
yeah, I think, I have to double check that. I can't, it's been
Yes.
2 years since we've done our own like that, and I can't
Can we
remember.
please double check that, and then can we make sure that we disseminate the information across the district in all the forms that we can, so that all our citizens have that information?
We'll get the word out.
Okay, any other item?
No, I just wanted to bring that up because it was new information that came in, so I appreciate that.
Okay, thank
And
you.
I also wanna, I'm gonna review that conversation that we had with Jackie, because I'm pretty sure that I asked very clearly whether we could have, can we do, the 3 sites would be Johnston, Pack, and McCullough for both the Southwest ballot and the, city ballot. And she said, yes, it was up to us, for us to talk about it, and then get back with her.
But she was wrong. She
Yeah.
gave
Yeah, she
us
said
some
yes.
wrong information, but that
There's no doubt
wasn't,
about that.
nobody voted on anything about the elections
Well, then
that
she could
night.
make it right.
But-
If she was wrong, she could make it right
But
by
it's
giving us
against the-
McCullough. And I think that as citizens, maybe we need to start making phone calls to her office and, from our constituencies in the city, and, requesting that the city put a site there at McCullough for the city ballot as well. Because if she was unsure, she could have told us. I'm not sure, let me look into this. But I was very clear what her answer was, but I'll double check that.
She said yes.
I think considering how many years we've done this, and it's, you know, you've usually been doing the same thing for quite a while, she should have also known that. I mean, it's not only us.
Well, I
Our
know
intentions,
that
our
they-
intentions were to have the additional sites, but
Well, and I know that the city adds sites at the last minute all the time.
Well,
So I can't understand how this is a closed deal right now, especially given the fact that we were misinformed during that meeting. So I think that, to me, this isn't over.
Well, we're one of the only few districts. We got Judson, we got Northside, they all jumped on Bear County's election process, and we're one of the past in the few that are doing it like this.
We're the only
Yeah.
that does it like this. Thank you, sir. I'm sorry you're the bearer of bad news.
Well, you know, there's, I get, there's different philosophies, ideologies, whatever. We're trying to do the best, I think, by reaching out, working with Bear County elections, good people. I think we all make mistakes. I think there's misspoken without all the information, and I think there's some frustration that night because there's technology issues. Seems to be technology issues everywhere right now. And, I know it's not what the board wanted. I understand it. This is where we are. We can communicate our voting sites to our public as best we can. We're not election experts at all, but we try to hear the collective voice of the board and move forward and do the work. And, you know, we're learning along the way as well, and we're trying to make sure we address these issues.
And I want you to know that I do not think in any way, shape, or form that the administration or the district has any responsibility in this. I think this is, you know, it's on elected officials.
Yeah, it's we as a board,
We as a board.
we as a board need to come together and make sure that it's adequate access to the mobile ballot box, so that every voice can be heard.
Okay, any other items?
In case you have nothing to do for the next 5 hours, you want to go for a long drive to the soccer game. High school boys soccer is in the Sweet 16 in the state of Texas. And they play Valley View, which is, I believe, the team that had won state a few times, a very good team. It's also streamlined. I sent all of you an email with that stream link in it. I don't know if there's a cost or not with this stream. Also, early voting does begin April 19th. It ends April 27th with the election day, Saturday, May the 1st. And that's not the only two things that I have right now. I want to thank the staff for the presentations today. I think there's a lot of forward thinking with all of our divisions, and you know, we talk about the Southwest Cares, but to hear Adrian and Luis go through that, and Delula and Patty go through our summer structure, it all comes into focus that our emphasis is supporting our community and our kids and moving forward and making sure they all have a bright future. We're coming out of this pandemic. We're not coming out of it as fast as people would like, but we are coming out of it. And so I fully anticipate that next school year, 90%, I'm hoping 90% of our students will be in face-to-face venues. Right now, I would say we're over 60% of our almost 14,000 students are coming face-to-face, majority of time. Most of those are at elementary level. I know some of our elementaries are almost at full capacity. There's a few that are less than that. And our secondary, which is, I think, reflective of the same meetings I have with other superintendents, is where we have less students coming in person. But we think that's going to change as we get to August of 2021 into the 2021-2022 school year. So we'll be ready for that. We're going to use this summer to ramp our students up in preparation for that and our families. But we're also going to have to create a virtual elementary program and a virtual secondary program because we do understand and support that some of our families will still choose until there's a pediatric vaccine readily available, and until all of our students get it. There will be some students who still stay in virtual format moving forward. At the state level, there's a lot of conversation around creating virtual formats because some students, a very small fraction of students, really excel in those environments and do really well. But we're looking how we can kind of do some shared service agreements throughout Bear County. We're not expending large amounts of money for a very small group, but that selectively we can offer some virtual opportunities for our students moving forward. And that'd be exciting and a little different in the education forum. So that's all we have, unless any senior staff members have anything else.
Just real quick, I just wanted to say that people viewing, since we did have audio issues, we did record it, so the recording will have better audio. So we'll try to get that up today. So if anybody's watching that wants to didn't hear anything, we should be able to fix it, and then we'll put it up today.
Okay.
Thank you, Roger.
Thank you. Yeah,
Okay.
we have technical difficulties here too.
Thank you. Meeting adjourned at 1:18.